Hi guys, continuing with the percussion revolver series, I had a subscriber ask me to go a little more in depth about the wad and what the purpose of the wad is doing. Okay, so let's look at that right now. And here's one of my great drawings to help explain it. Okay, what I've created here's the barrel, here is the cylinder, here's the ball, wad, powder, and there's the cone. The gap between the front of the cylinder and the forcing cone varies as the gun ages because of compression, stretching metal, etc. So there will be a gap there of some form. Okay, it will vary gun to gun, and there's a lot of other factors. We'll talk about that down the road. But for right now, what you need to know is there's going to be a gap, so you're going to lose some pressure. Okay. What the question that the person was asking was the wad and filler. Why would people want to put filler? Filler comes in because you want to use a much lower load than the gun was designed for. And I say that because when Colt and the black powder people were designing these guns back in the day, he had X amount of power in mind. And when you read the write-up that came in the lid of the gun box that you ordered the gun, it told you to fill the chamber to the top with powder, then put the ball in, compress it down, cap it, and fire. Okay? So the chamber was the given load, 30 grains, 40 grains, whatever. You just filled it to the top, and then the powder was compressible enough that the ball would actually compress it down. This does not take into account lubrication, etc. in modern times, but you get what I'm saying. If you wanted a less powerful gun, you made a smaller cylinder. See, if I wanted a more powerful gun, I made a bigger cylinder. That's the reason when you look at the cartridge guns of the era, there was the 45-60, the 45-65, the 45-70, the 45-75, the 45-110, the 45-120. They just made it longer to get more power. That's how the mindset was today. So Colt designed the gun to have a load of 30, 35, 40 grains, whatever. And we want to shoot it because of target work with 10 grains or 20 grains. Well, if I just put that powder in there and try to ram it, it may not be enough room due to the size of the chamber of your gun. Excuse me, too much room for the given chamber. If I drop that in there and I ram the ball in, it may not come down to the proper place. It may not be compressing, and there may be an air gap, which is a big no-no. And so we need to have a filler so we can compress, because black powder and all the substitutes require compression to burn effectively. They were designed for that. And so if you just loosely put them in there, they're not nearly as effective. They want those grains almost touching each other so the fire jumps between them very fast. If it has to leap from grain to grain, so to speak, within that column, it's not nearly as efficient, okay? And it's much lower velocity. So what you want to do is you put in the given load of 10 grains, let's say, and then you fill the rest of the chamber up with cream of wheat or some such thing, put the ball in it and ram it home. If you're using this, you don't need to put the wad in it, because there's no chance of flash getting down through all that cream of wheat. But your disadvantage is that cream of wheat may not all go out of the barrel. And if you've got any kind of obstruction or anything in here in the rifling, it's got to hit it with the next ball. And that's where a wad comes in, on modern oxyote wads and things like that. Because what that does is, when the powder ignites, it hits against that wad. And now the wad is predominantly a gas seal, because the round ball only has the very edge of it in contact with the cylinder. And if you're looking at it from the back, it would be a V like that of the ball going to the chamber wall. And this focuses the energy of that gunfire powder pressure wants to blow by it. Okay, and it's what's called blow by. And it's like a little blowtorch. So as that ball starts moving forward, it'll poof, 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 out around it. Well, it's losing velocity. You know, if the ball isn't a good tight fit, it's losing velocity. The pressure hitting will cause the lead to arbitrate, puff up like you squeeze a marshmallow, and grip the rifling as it goes down bore, but it will not be a perfect seal, okay? What that wad does is it makes a gas seal. It evens out that pressure on the back side like a sail would catch the wind, and holds it against the back end to push that projectile more efficiently down the bore. Now, why I recommend putting bigger charges or fillers to get the ball as close as possible to the mouth of the chamber. It's the jump from the cylinder over to that forcing cone. If the ball is way back down the barrel and the pressure hits and it starts moving, it's getting a running start, so to speak. Remember that gas or whatever? You're not guaranteed it's going to hit that forcing cone dead center, because if the gas is blowing by one side or the other for whatever reason, it's kind of leaning to one side and then it hits that forcing cone and you're trying to ram it, you know. I want it to just step across and then let the rifling spin it. I do not want it to slam into the forcing cone and kind of stutter for a second where I've lost, you know, an inch of bore before it ever settles into the rifling, because that, you know, and the gas is popping around it. That's the reason I want it to go just straight across. I want that ball to be halfway out and into the forcing cone. You know what I'm saying? So I want it to be an easy step across rather than a jump across. And it does make a difference. That's the reason where you hear people talk about using such low loads of 10 grains or whatever for a pure target load. If all you're doing is going out and shooting targets with it, absolutely, that's perfectly fine. If it makes so, I want that transition. So whenever you fill up a chamber with cream of wheat or whatever, you make that gap less and it's more uniform. I don't want any disturbance with that ball going down the barrel. I want it to just slide across, grab the rifle, and smoothly go out. Okay? Now, as it's going down the bore, the wad is still acting as a seal. It's also wiping the fouling from your last shot with it, and it's wiping the bore. It does add a touch of lubricant, but that's not massive. But what it's really doing is it's taking the soot out. If you don't want to use wads and people say, I just want to smear grease on top of it, that does work. But it normally makes a lot of mess, because when you fire around this gap of the forcing cone, it squirts grease out. And so you get a whole lot on the outside there forward and on your hands of this black sooty grease. It's just nasty to do it. Yes, it can, but that's the idea. For lubrication, as we've talked about before, will go ahead and wet the bore. I will take and run a heavy lubed patch up and down the bore before I ever start shooting. When I'm hunting, that's the first thing I do is I lube the bore, then I load the gun, because I want that bore greasy with lube. So as it fires, there is no hard fouling left. That ball, as it goes down the barrel, is not going to hit a dry spot and make a lead smear. Because if leading starts, the next one coming down the line is going to hit it. It's kind of like smearing bubble gum. The next one hits and the next one hits. That's why you got a lump in there. And you can't shoot accurately, because as that ball is coming down the barrel, it hits a rock in the road, so to speak. I want nice, smooth, even. See? So, what we want is we want the ball near the front of the chamber, up here at the edge of the forcing cone. We want something that's going to act as a gas seal, ideally. If it's a real tight fitting ball, you don't need that. So if I'm using a 4.54 in a gun that would normally have a 4.51, I might not need the wad, because it's going to wipe the bore. As long as my bore is greased so that it's pushing that fouling out ahead of it, okay, I've done that and it does work. A filler in here is taking up that space to take you back up to the capacity you want. On my guns, I make the rammer a certain, I take it down to a certain depth so that I know that the ball will just clear when I rotate around, and I mark my rammer. So that when I'm edge on and I'm ramming it, when that mark disappears, I know I'm just below flush, and it goes all the way around, no problem. So I'm consistent shot to shot, same amount of pressure, same depth, etc. That's why we use it. So why use wad? It's a gas seal. It wipes the bore, it catches those pressures, and it gives us a more consistent shot. Hope this gives you some ideas, guys. Please leave any questions or comments below. And I will be moving Percussion Wednesday to Friday. My way my job is, it'll just be easier. So this will be the last Wednesday percussion revolver. And next week it will be in Friday percussion revolver. Hope you enjoy it, guys. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. Until next time, this is Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.